Last night, we started by telling you that Russian President Vladimir Putin has landed in India. Tonight, we can tell you that he's wrapping up his visit. By the time the show ends, he would most probably have taken off. Today was a packed day. We'll bring you a ball-by-ball account and the 5 big takeaways from the summit. Also, what this visit means for the stakeholders, not just India and Russia, but also the rivals and the frenemies. How would China and the US view this? We'll also address the question that the internet cannot stop asking. Why did they ride together in a Toyota Fortuner of all cars? A special report on Putin's many visits to India and how he has shaped global politics for over 25 years now. Also on the show, the aviation mess, more than 1,000 flights cancelled across India, and Indigo now faces an investigation. The RBI cuts the repo rate. What does it mean for your loans and EMIs? Why India's foreign minister says the West will be the net losers of their own immigration crackdowns. And the US conducts another military strike in the Caribbean. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Taiwan says China is deploying warships for military operations stretching from the Yellow Sea to the South China Sea. Taipei calls it a threat to the region and urges Beijing to exercise restraint. China has neither confirmed nor denied the maneuvers. Beijing claims self-ruled Taiwan as part of its territory. The European Union hits Elon Musk's X with a $140 million fine. The decision risks a fresh clash with Donald Trump's administration. The probe into X was seen as a test of the EU's resolve to police big tech. Earlier, the US Vice President had warned the bloc against targeting American firms through quote-unquote censorship. Heavy rains trigger fresh landslide warnings in Sri Lanka. This comes as the death toll from last week's cyclone crosses 600. More than 200 people are still missing. Record rainfall had triggered floods and deadly landslides. The president has called it the most challenging natural disaster in the island's history. The Tanzanian government has stepped up its crackdown on opponents. Once the United Nations, more than 1,000 people were killed in the protests over the contested October election. The opposition says the polls were a sham, as most of the candidates were either jailed or disqualified. And Netflix will buy Warner Brothers Discovery. The streaming giant will acquire the film and television studio known for shows like Game of Thrones and Harry Potter movies. The deal is valued at nearly $83 billion. It is the entertainment industry's biggest consolidation deal this decade.
My friend Rashtrapati Putin, namaskar, dobry den.
It's day 2 of Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to India. It has high stakes, high symbolism, and even higher expectations. The Russian president landed in New Delhi last evening. From there, it was off to a private dinner, a dinner with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders met away from cameras, away from formalities, and away from the buzz of protocol. Prime Minister Modi also gifted President Putin a Russian translation of the Bhagavad Gita. But yesterday was just the trailer. Today was the main event. The summit, the talks, the announcement, all of it was packed in one day. It started with a ceremonial welcome. President Vladimir Putin arrived at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in his Aurus Senat. This is Putin's luxury limousine. He takes it everywhere he goes. He was welcomed by President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. From there, it was a short trip to the Rajghat. That's the memorial dedicated to Mahatma Gandhi. President Putin laid a wreath there. He observed a moment of silence and even penned down a special note in the visitor's book. You can see the message on your screen. It's in Russian. But here's what it says. Putin described Mahatma Gandhi as one of the key founders of modern India. He said Gandhi's ideas still remain relevant today and they continue to inspire. After this, it was down to business, the 23rd annual India-Russia summit. President Putin arrived at the Hyderabad house. That was the venue for the bilateral summit. The two leaders met. So did the two delegations. Multiple MOUs were signed. An MOU is a memorandum of understanding. It's basically an agreement. Many of these were signed today.
विश्व का कल्याण शांति के मार्ग पर ही है। हम सबको मिलकर के शांति के रास्ते तलाशने चाहिए। और पिछले दिनों जो प्रयास चल रहे हैं, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि विश्व फिर से एक बार शांति की दिशा में लौटेगा।
We had the opportunity, and you gave me that opportunity, to speak in detail about what is happening on the Ukrainian track and about the steps we are taking jointly with some other partners, including the United States, toward a possible peaceful settlement of this crisis.
So the two leaders discussed Ukraine. They also talked about oil, trade, defense, economic cooperation and tourism. Then it was time for the joint statement. We'll bring you the key takeaways from that in just a bit. But first, here's something that caught everyone's attention. Prime Minister Modi welcomed President Putin in Russian.
Your Excellency, my friend Rashtrapati Bhavan, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार, दोबरे दिन।
With the bilateral statements done, they headed to the India-Russia Business Forum. It was held at the Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. The focus was on trade, technology and connectivity. The two leaders talked about entering a new era of innovation. They spoke about artificial intelligence, co-production and co-creation, and how India's young workforce could help Russia.
हम उस लक्ष्य को समय से पहला पूरा करने के संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और मेरा विश्वास बढ़ रहा है। INSTC या तो फिर नॉर्दर्न सी रूट यानी चेन्नई व्लादिवोस्टोक कॉरिडोर, इन पर हम आगे बढ़ने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं। जल्द ही इस दिशा में प्रगति होगी। इससे ट्रांजिट टाइम घटेगा, कॉस्ट कम होगी और बिजनेस के लिए नए मार्केट्स खुलेंगे।
We are ready for broad cooperation with India in the area of artificial intelligence, where both our countries have their own advanced developments. Russia is interested to take part in the Artificial Intelligence Summit in India scheduled for February 2026, as I have just told Mr. Prime Minister.
The two leaders also exchanged gifts. Prime Minister Modi gave President Putin fine Assam black tea, an ornate silver tea set, a silver horse, a marble chess set, Kashmiri saffron, and of course, like I told you, the Bhagavad Gita in Russian. From there, Putin's next order of business was more personal. It was the launch of RT India. It's a new channel from Russia today. But the day was not over yet for him. The last engagement was a state dinner at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It was a grand affair. There was a joint military band performing. The menu blended elements from both India and Russia, including Kashmiri Wazwan and Russian borscht. Will Putin eat any of it? Chances are he won't. The Russian president rarely eats food prepared by local chefs. He travels with a team of his own chefs, aides and security personnel. The ingredients for his food are pre-approved. They're cooked under strict protocol and a mobile food testing laboratory accompanies him. So he's unlikely to taste the feast, but that's hardly the point of these dinners. And with that, it was the end of day 2 and the visit.
भारत रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरफ बनी रही।
So you've seen all the color. Now let's talk about the substance. The joint statements, the agreements, the key takeaways. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin held wide-ranging discussions. They reviewed every aspect of the India-Russia relationship. And one issue dominated the talks: trade. Considering the current geopolitical climate, that's hardly surprising. Trump's tariffs have caused considerable upheaval. But for India and Russia, the tariffs have also opened up opportunities, and both sides want to capitalize on that. Today, they announced a new economic roadmap. That was the first big takeaway: the India-Russia Economic Cooperation Program. Its agenda is quite ambitious. India and Russia want to achieve $100 billion in annual trade. That is the new goal, $100 billion.
आर्थिक सहयोग को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाना हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। इसे साकार करने के लिए आज हमने 2030 तक के लिए एक इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई है। इससे हमारा व्यापार और निवेश डाइवर्सिफाइड, बैलेंस और सस्टेनेबल बनेगा और सहयोग के क्षेत्रों में नए आयाम भी जुड़ेंगे।
What's the value of bilateral trade today? Around $65 billion. They want to expand it to $100 billion. Both sides believe that it is within reach, the $100 billion mark. Russia is counting on energy exports. Putin wants to keep supplying oil to India. Today he said the shipments will remain, quote-unquote, uninterrupted.
Russia is a reliable supplier of oil, gas, coal, and everything that is required for the development of India's energy. We are ready to continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel for the fast-growing Indian economy.
It's a strong message of intent. Putin highlighted some projects which are already in the pipeline, like the Kudankulam project in Tamil Nadu. Now, this is a southern Indian state, Tamil Nadu. It's where India is building its largest nuclear power plant in Kudankulam, and Russia is playing a pivotal role in it. Russia is providing the reactor technology. It is sharing construction expertise. The Kudankulam plant will have 6 nuclear reactors. Putin said that 2 of them are already operational, another 4 are being built, and he said that Russia remains committed to the project. He also said that they are open to sharing more advanced nuclear technologies with India, like modular reactors and floating nuclear power plants. Putin said that both sides discussed these possibilities, so energy will remain a key pillar of the India-Russia partnership. Having said that, India wants a more balanced trade relationship, and that is the second big takeaway. India wants to export more to Russia, and Russia is willing to buy more. They signed some agreements today. The Russians will buy more of marine and agricultural products from India. And this is interesting, this choice of products, because these are the exports that have been hit by Trump's tariffs. He slapped 50% import duties in August, so Indian exports have suffered, and now Russia is offering an alternative market for Indian goods. But can it fully make up for the hit from the US market? That's unlikely. America is still one of India's biggest export destinations. Russia is a large economy, but it cannot match that level of demand. So this won't be a replacement, but it can help offset some of the losses. It can bring more balance to India's trade with Russia. Then we come to headline number 3, and that is defense. There were no big announcements on this front. Both sides reaffirmed their partnership. They signaled a shift in direction. And I'll tell you how. Traditionally, India has been a major buyer of Russian weapons. But now they want to build together. And the joint statement spells it out. It lists new areas of cooperation like defense, spare parts and key components, including parts of existing Russian systems. Both sides back the idea of technology transfers and the setting up of new joint ventures.
Russia and India traditionally cooperate closely in military and technical areas. Our country has helped in the modernization and in equipping the Indian Army for more than half a century, including its air defense forces, aviation, and its navy. Generally, we are certainly satisfied with the results of the talks.
So the defense partnership is moving from trade to production. Headline number 4. the people-to-people ties. India and Russia have signed a mobility agreement. It will allow Indian professionals to work in Russia in both white-collar and blue-collar sectors like construction, engineering, textiles, manufacturing and electronics. And with this mobility pact, around 70,000 Indians could get a job in Russia. But that's not all. India too is opening up. It is inviting Russian tourists to visit India. New Delhi will soon offer a 30-day free e-tourist visa to Russians. Prime Minister Modi made the announcement himself.
मुझे खुशी है कि शीघ्र ही हम रूसी नागरिकों के लिए निःशुल्क 30 डे ई-टूरिस्ट वीजा और 30 डे ग्रुप टूरिस्ट वीजा की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। मैन पावर मोबिलिटी हमारे लोगों को जोड़ने के साथ साथ दोनों देशों के लिए नई ताकत और नए अवसर क्रिएट करेगी। मुझे खुशी है कि इससे बढ़ावा देने के लिए आज 2 समझौते किए गए हैं।
India is also expanding its diplomatic presence in Russia. 2 new consulates have opened up recently. The idea is to increase local outreach, to strengthen people-to-people ties. And then we come to headline number 5, terrorism. India and Russia have taken a united stand against terrorism.
आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और रूस ने लंबे समय से कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर सहयोग किया है। पहलगाम में हुआ आतंकी हमला हो या क्रोकस सिटी हॉल पर किया गया कायरतापूर्ण आघात, इन सभी घटनाओं की जड़ एक ही है। भारत का अटल विश्वास है कि आतंकवाद मानवता के मूल्यों पर सीधा प्रहार है और इसके विरुद्ध वैश्विक एकता ही हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है।
The joint statement condemned 2 recent attacks, one in India in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam and the other in Russia at Moscow's Crocus City Hall. Both leaders reaffirmed their commitment to counter terrorism in all its forms, including cross-border terror, terror financing networks and terror safe havens. In fact, this has been a cornerstone of the India-Russia partnership. So those are the 5 big takeaways. Now let's also tell you what they left out. The war in Ukraine. It finds no mention in the joint statement, although Prime Minister Modi did speak about it, and here's what he said.
यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा।
So this summit was about highlighting shared interests and reiterating that this relationship is here to stay. Western sanctions and pressure cannot force them to part ways. India and Russia are doubling down.
Господин премьер-министр и партнеры,
2030 तक के लिए इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई।
So the talks are done, the dinner is done, and now it's time to take stock. What does this summit mean for the stakeholders? And I don't just mean India and Russia, I mean the rivals too, like the United States of America and China. I'm sure Donald Trump and Xi Jinping were watching things closely. What would they have made of this summit? Let's break it down for you. We'll start with India. For India, this summit means 3 things. 1, a strong display of strategic autonomy. Not everyone is happy about this trip. On Monday, 3 Western diplomats wrote an op-ed for an Indian newspaper. They blamed Putin for extending the war in Ukraine. And don't forget Donald Trump. He wants India to cut ties with Russia. He's also imposed 50% tariffs over our oil trade. Yet what does India do? It hosts Putin warmly with hugs, carpooling and ceremony. This visit demonstrates India's strategic autonomy. That's the first point for India. Secondly, it opens doors to new frontiers like Central Asia and the Arctic. India is used to the warm waters of the Indian Ocean, but Russia will help Indian soldiers, or Indian sailors rather, adapt to the cold Arctic. It will expand India's footprint to new areas. And number 3, India got a reminder of Russia's reliability. They condemned the Pahalgam attack in the joint statement. They promised uninterrupted oil supply, and they promised to reduce the trade surplus with India. These are all signs of a reliable partner. They do not weaponize trade or energy. They seek cooperation. So this is what it means for India. Now let's talk about Russia. What does this summit mean for Moscow? Number 1, an outlet for the sanctions pressure. Russia is cut off from Western investments and technology. India could plug some of that gap. Number 2, a counterbalance to China. Yes, Russia has a close partnership with Beijing, but there are areas of conflict, like Central Asia and the Arctic, which is why Russia is seeking India's help. Together, they can keep Chinese hegemony in check. And finally, number 3, here's what it means for Russia, a way to amplify Russian capabilities. I'll explain how. Russia is an aging economy. They're seeking Indian labor to power their industries. So Russian tech plus Indian labor. Same with space and defense. Russia does not have the funds to undertake big missions like a 6th-generation fighter jet or a manned mission to space. And that's where Indian funds and labor come in. They can amplify Russia's power. So this is what it means for Moscow. Now let's look at the rivals. What does the summit mean for China and the US? We'll start with China. Again, 3 points. 1, it shows that Russia has options. A lot has been said about Moscow's dependence on China, but today showed that that is not the case. Whether it's for trade or investment or labor, Russia has options beyond China. Number 2, China has its work cut out in Eurasia. India and Russia are joining forces in the region. They're building new trade corridors like the International North-South Corridor and the Northern Sea Route. Both could challenge China's Belt and Road Initiative. You see, Beijing's goal is to monopolize this region. But together, Russia and India can stop that. And of course, it's not all bad news for Beijing. There's also a silver lining for China, and that's point number 3. A strong India-Russia partnership can undermine the West. They can shun the US dollar, they can overhaul Western financial systems, and maybe even create alternatives. All of this ties into China's larger goal. They too want to undermine Western dominance. This is what the visit means for China. And then we come to the United States of America. What would Donald Trump have made of this meeting? Again, we have 3 points. Number 1, it's a setback to his divide and conquer strategy. Trump wanted to drive a wedge in Eurasia, between India and Russia, between Russia and China, between India and China. But it's backfired spectacularly. His policies have deepened cooperation in this part of the world. Yes, differences still exist, but on certain issues, there is agreement. That's the first takeaway for the US. Secondly, it's a blow to the US dollar. Both Russia and India want to trade in local currencies, and they've made spectacular progress. More than 90% of Russia's trade with India happens in local currencies, meaning the rupee and the ruble. It's above 90% with China as well. At this rate, they could remove the dollar from the picture altogether, something that Donald Trump dreads. And finally, point number 3 for the US, possible setback to defense ambitions. The US wants to drag India into its security ambit, whether it's selling American weapons or sharing military tech or sharing military assets. They want to do it with India. But Russia is offering a lot more than weapons. They are offering to transfer technology. They're offering to produce in India with India. Basically, the deals are a lot sweeter. And this could upset calculations in Washington. I'm sure we will hear from Trump soon. He'll wake up, he'll see the pictures, and probably log into Truth Social. We'll tell you how that plays out.
This is
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा। सिक्योर्ड मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी प्लाई क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
फिनिस्टा विंडोज, ब्यूटीफुल एंड ड्यूरेबल डिजाइन्स, इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनिस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Find Finer Finesta.
The all-new Hyundai Venue, Tech Up, go beyond.
फिनिस्टा विंडोज, ब्यूटीफुल एंड ड्यूरेबल डिजाइन्स, इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनिस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Find Finer Finesta.
The all-new Hyundai Venue, Tech Up, go beyond.
फिनिस्टा विंडोज, ब्यूटीफुल एंड ड्यूरेबल डिजाइन्स, इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनिस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Find Finer Finesta.
सल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं और आप घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अनुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Excellencies, now I respectfully invite Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to deliver his concluding remarks.
Your Excellency, my friend राष्ट्रपति पुतिन, भारत और रूस बिजनेस के सभी लीडर्स, देवी और सज्जनों, नमस्कार। इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम, मैं समझता हूँ कि राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण इनिशिएटिव रहा कि इतना बड़ा डेलीगेशन लेकर के आज इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा बने हैं और आप सबका मैं हृदय से बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूं और मेरा भी आप सबके बीच आना एक बहुत प्रसन्नता का अवसर है। इस फोरम से जुड़ने के लिए और अपने बहुमूल्य विचार साझा करने के लिए मैं मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का हृदय से बहुत बहुत।
Excellencies, now I respectfully invite Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to deliver his concluding remarks.
Your Excellency, my friend राष्ट्रपति पुतिन, भारत और रूस बिजनेस के सभी लीडर्स, देवी और सज्जनों, नमस्कार। इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम, मैं समझता हूँ कि राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण इनिशिएटिव रहा कि इतना बड़ा डेलीगेशन लेकर के आज इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा बने हैं और आप सबका मैं हृदय से बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूं और मेरा भी आप सबके बीच आना एक बहुत प्रसन्नता का अवसर है। इस फोरम से जुड़ने के लिए और अपने बहुमूल्य विचार साझा करने के लिए मैं मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। बिजनेस के लिए सिंप्लीफाइड प्रिडिक्टेबल मैकेनिज्म बनाए जा रहे हैं। भारत और यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन के बीच एफटीए पर चर्चा शुरू हो गई है और साथियों हम अलग अलग विषयों को लेकर के भी, जैसा अभी पीयूष जी ने उल्लेख किया था और जैसा राष्ट्रपति जी ने जो संभावनाओं का वर्णन किया है, उसे देखते हुए हम बहुत कम समय में बहुत बड़े लक्ष्य हासिल कर सकते हैं। बिजनेस हो या डिप्लोमेसी, किसी भी साझेदारी की नींव आपसी विश्वास है। भारत रूस संबंधों की सबसे बड़ी शक्ति यही विश्वास है। यह हमारे
साझे प्रयासों को दिशा भी देता है और गति भी देता है। यही वह लॉन्च पैड है जो हमें नए सपनों, नई आकांक्षाओं की उड़ान भरने के लिए प्रेरित करता है। पिछले वर्ष राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मैंने 2030 तक द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $100 बिलियन का उस लक्ष्य को पार करने का हमने निर्धार किया था। लेकिन कल से मेरी जो राष्ट्रपति पुतिन से बात हो रही है और जिस प्रकार के पोटेंशियल नजर आ रहे हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि हमें 2030 तक इंतजार करना पड़ेगा। ये मैं साफ देख रहा हूं। हम उस लक्ष्य को समय से पहला पूरा करने के संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और मेरा विश्वास बढ़ रहा है।
Putin touched down in India last night, but even before that, he had captured India's attention, not in a speech, not in a statement, but as a tiny aircraft icon on a website, a dot on flight radar. This is Putin's official aircraft. It's the Ilyushin IL-96-300 PU. It is also called the Flying Kremlin. Yesterday, it took off from Moscow sometime in the afternoon. It started its journey towards New Delhi. And at one point, 20,000 people were tracking it. 20,000 people. It became the most tracked flight in the world yesterday. People were seeing it move. But were they tracking the real flight? The flight that Putin was on, were they tracking that or were they following the wrong one? And here's why I ask. Because there were two identical Russian planes heading to India. At times, only one plane was visible. At times, both of them would show up on the radar. One switched on its transponder, the other switched it off. And this continued for 6.5 hours until one of these flights landed in New Delhi. That's when people figured which plane President Putin was on. And this is not new for world leaders, especially for a leader like Putin. He is one of the world's most protected leaders. He has one of the tightest security protocols. So using a decoy aircraft is not unusual at all. Russia does it all the time. Also, it's not just his plane that grabbed headlines. Putin landed in India at around 7 p.m. local time, 7 p.m. IST. The red carpet was rolled out. The Russian president walked down the stairs, and waiting for him was Indian Prime Minister Modi. Now, prime ministers usually do not receive world leaders at the airport, but Prime Minister Modi did, and it shows you how special the relationship is. From there, it was a ride to 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, that is the official residence of India's Prime Minister. But it wasn't just another ride, it was a very special carpool. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin were in the same car. Now, the first time they've done this, 2 months back, they were in China, in Tianjin for the SCO summit, and there too, they carpooled. Yesterday, we saw a repeat in Delhi, but it was a repeat with a twist. Because you would expect Modi's Range Rover or Mercedes Maybach or Putin's Aurus Senat, a long motorcade, black SUVs, tinted windows, standard fare for heads of state. But no, these two leaders climbed into a white Toyota Fortuner. And on cue, the internet exploded. Why did they choose this car? Lots of theories are doing the rounds, but here are the two prominent ones. One, the security and optics of it. Security agencies have a simple philosophy. Predictability is a weakness, neutrality is protection. A Toyota can blend into any convoy. It doesn't become a target. It's easy to armor. You can have 3 identical copies ready to switch at a moment's notice. And when the Russian Federal Protection Service arrived, they reportedly agreed with this idea. Also, it's about the origin of the car. Mercedes is a German company. Range Rover is owned by Tata, but manufactured in the UK. Toyota is a Japanese company. The car is manufactured by Japan. So not using a Western car or Western manufactured car could be one of the reasons for the optics. The other theory is that it's a practical choice. The Fortuner has 3 rows, the Range Rover does not. 2 heads of state need interpreters. Interpreters need seats. Diplomacy at the end of the day sometimes runs on very simple things. In this case, the seating capacity of a car. And this is something to think about. Because this was a visit filled with grand topics: oil, defense, Ukraine, sanctions, trade imbalance. And yet, what dominated social media and regular conversations was a Toyota SUV. Sometimes geopolitics is not defined by speeches or statements. Sometimes it's defined by tiny, almost mundane choices like a hug, a flight watched by 20,000 strangers, a white Fortuner rolling through New Delhi, because sometimes the smallest details make the loudest noise. In the last 24 hours, we've seen a lot of images of handshakes, smiles, statements, and 2 leaders sharing a car. But this story did not begin 24 hours ago. It began 25 years ago. That's how long Vladimir Putin has been in power. He first arrived in India 25 years ago, and since then he has visited multiple times under different governments in different eras and for very different reasons. So tonight we take you back to all his visits to India over the years. It's a trip down memory lane, frame by frame.
Some stories unfold across many visits, across many handshakes, across many years. For India, that familiar visitor has been Vladimir Putin. Over a quarter century, he has become a recurring face in India's guestbook. The album opens in December 2000. Putin's first visit as Russia's new president. He meets then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Both sides sign the Delhi Declaration on Strategic Partnership. Then, Putin goes to the Rajghat to pay his tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. He also greets the Indian Parliament with a namaste and visits the Taj Mahal with his wife. Then he flies to Mumbai for a stop at the Baba Atomic Research Centre. His visit to the centre becomes one of the defining moments of the trip. Turn the page to 2002. Putin returns for his second visit. Talks focus on defence, energy and regional security. The 2 countries review progress under the new strategic partnership. Fast forward to January 2007. Putin arrives in India as the chief guest for Republic Day. India rolls out the red carpets in full ceremonial style. He watches the parade beside then-President APJ Abdul Kalam. Putin also attended the traditional at-home reception hosted by the President at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He meets then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Their discussions include defence cooperation, civil nuclear energy and economic ties, among others. Putin's next visit comes in 2012. He makes a short working visit to India on December 24th and meets then President Pranab Mukherjee and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh for the annual summit. He is also called on by the chairperson of the Congress Party, Sonia Gandhi, as well as then leader of opposition, Sushma Swaraj. The next trip comes in 2014. Putin visits India for the first time after Prime Minister Narendra Modi takes over. The visit was used to lock in a 10-year strategic roadmap. He also met Indian business leaders and addressed the World Diamond Conference that year. 2 years later, in 2016, Putin visited India to attend the BRICS summit in Goa. He also took part in the annual India-Russia summit afterwards. Fast forward to 2018, Putin lands in New Delhi for another annual summit. During this visit, he interacts with a group of talented Indian and Russian children. Putin also meets business leaders and calls on then-President Ramnath Kovind.
India-Russia warm and friendly bilateral relations are progressing well.
Next is December 2021. This was his last visit before the Ukraine war began. During this brief visit, both the countries launched the first India-Russia 2+2 dialogue. They also re-examined their bilateral ties. And this brings us to the present. Putin is in India on a state visit. And with this, another page is added to a long journey. It's a relationship that has been strengthened by each visit by Putin. It's a story told across 25 years. And now we are turning the page to the next chapter.
As far as trips go, this was a short one. Just 27 hours in New Delhi. Also, no Su-57 or S-500 purchase deals, which makes you wonder, what was this visit all about? Well, it was about a message. And frankly, India did not need 27 hours to send that message. It sent the message the moment Putin's plane touched down. Prime Minister Modi was on the tarmac. He personally welcomed Putin with a warm hug. Everything after that was just a bonus. And right here was a money shot. It showed India's defiance of Donald Trump's tariffs and threats. You can impose 25% levies, you can crank it up to 50%, you can impose secondary sanctions, but India will do what its national interest dictates. For Putin, there was similar defiance. Western commentary says that Russia is isolated. But look at Putin in New Delhi. He is being toasted by the world's largest democracy. If this is isolation, I hope everyone is isolated. Years later, we may not remember the agreements that were signed today, but we will remember this defiant messaging. Two proud countries refusing to bow down. December is a busy travel season in India, but it has kicked off with pure chaos. With more than 1,000 flights cancelled in one day, 1,000 flights. There were delays of more than 24 hours, thousands of people stranded at airports, many were left without food and water. There were even protests at some airports. And all of this traces back to one thing, a pilot crisis crippling the country's largest airline, Indigo.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Peter Elbers, the CEO of Indigo. I want to share with you that we have experienced severe operational disruptions for the past few days. Since then, the crisis continued to aggravate, with today, December 5th, being the most severely impacted day, with the number of cancellations well over 1,000, or more than half of our number of daily flights. I, on behalf of all of us at Indigo, would like to extend our sincerest apologies for the major inconvenience this has caused to many of our customers.
Things were so bad that the Indian government is being forced to intervene. They have launched an investigation into this. Now, we told you about all of it yesterday. Indigo is India's largest airline. They have a 60% market share. They operate 2,200 flights every day. This month, Indigo had implemented new flight time rules by the DGCA. That's the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, DGCA. It's basically India's aviation watchdog. They came up with new rules. These rules increase rest time for pilots. The rules are meant to ensure safety. But for Indigo, that meant a pilot shortage. Its flights are known for being on time. But today, Indigo's on-time performance has plunged to 88.5%. That means nothing is taking off on time. The crisis was so bad at one point that a flight ticket from New Delhi to Mumbai ranged from 35,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees. Imagine that. And this is the busiest route in the country, Delhi-Mumbai. This ticket normally costs around 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. It went up by nearly 10 times, 50,000. All of this has made India's aviation watchdog intervene. That's the DGCA. They've now rolled back the new flight time rules. Basically, things can now go back to how they were. This is a temporary exemption, they say, and it's only to stabilize things for now. In fact, let me read from the statement of the DGCA. The central government is fully alert to air passenger woes and is in constant consultation with all stakeholders. Every possible measure, including the exemptions, as announced by DGCA on Friday, will be taken to restore schedules and ensure stability. But the DGCA is not letting Indigo get away with it. They have ordered a high-level investigation. The aviation watchdog will form a 4-member panel. They will investigate what went wrong. How did Indigo crumble so badly with these new rules?
Given the size, scale and complexity of our operation, it will take some time to return to a full normal situation, which we do anticipate between the 10th and the 15th of December.
Now, this crisis will not resolve itself in a day or two. If you have flights in the next few days, please keep checking the schedule. There will be more disruptions. The Indigo CEO himself said the disruptions will continue till the 15th of December. That said, not everybody is happy with the DGCA's move, especially the Pilots Association of India. They think that the aviation watchdog has caved. Let me read from their statement as well. This decision, taken despite repeated representations, formal letters and direct discussions with your esteemed office, has undermined the very spirit of the FDTL regulations and gravely compromised the safety of the flying public. So for pilots, the new norms are for safety. Diluting them means endangering safety. And it's not just the pilots who are angry. Social media users are questioning the watchdog's move as well. They say it impacts passenger safety. They're questioning the limits of pilots. They believe that Indigo is holding the entire system hostage and that the blackmail has worked. Which brings us to the big question tonight. Is India's aviation system prepared for such shocks? Or have we built a sector so fragile that it can crumble in minutes? Because think about it, Indigo controls 60% of India's skies. Air India holds another 25%. Together, that's 85% of the market share between two airlines. That means these two airlines control 4 out of every 5 seats in this country. It's a classic duopoly. So even if one of them fails, even if one chokes, the entire system collapses. And it has. SpiceJet has added extra flights to relieve the chaos, but that's not been enough. Nothing could match the sheer scale at which Indigo operates, and this raises many questions. These new rules were decided upon last year. Indigo had enough time to prepare for this. So why weren't they ready? And if they were not ready, what did the DGCA do about it? Why did the aviation watchdog not act faster? Why did the government not intervene earlier? This is the 5th day of the crisis. They're all active now, but why did they wait for it to escalate this far? We are the 5th largest aviation market in the world. What happens when India's aviation traffic doubles? What happens when we become the world's 3rd largest market? Are we prepared for that? Are our regulators prepared? Are our airlines prepared? Or are we just hoping that nothing breaks? Because this week something did break and the country got a glimpse of how vulnerable our skies really are. It's time we take accountability and fix this.
This is
Excellencies, now I respectfully invite Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to deliver his concluding remarks.
Your Excellency, my friend Rashtrapati Bhavan, भारत और रूस बिजनेस के सभी लीडर्स, देवी और सज्जनों, नमस्कार। इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम, मैं समझता हूँ कि राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण इनिशिएटिव रहा कि इतना बड़ा डेलीगेशन लेकर के आज इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा बने हैं और आप सबका मैं हृदय से बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूं और मेरा भी आप सबके बीच आना एक बहुत प्रसन्नता का अवसर है। इस फोरम से जुड़ने के लिए और अपने बहुमूल्य विचार साझा करने के लिए मैं मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। बिजनेस के लिए सिंप्लीफाइड प्रिडिक्टेबल मैकेनिज्म बनाए जा रहे हैं। भारत और यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन के बीच एफटीए पर चर्चा शुरू हो गई है और साथियों हम अलग अलग विषयों को लेकर के भी जैसा अभी पीयूष जी ने उल्लेख किया था और जैसा राष्ट्रपति जी ने जो संभावनाओं का वर्णन किया है उसे देखते हुए हम बहुत कम समय में बहुत बड़े लक्ष्य हासिल कर सकते हैं। बिजनेस हो या डिप्लोमेसी, किसी भी साझेदारी की नींव आपसी विश्वास है। भारत रूस संबंधों की सबसे बड़ी शक्ति यही विश्वास है। यह हमारे साझे प्रयासों को दिशा भी देता है और गति भी देता है। यही वह लॉन्च पैड है जो हमें नए सपनों नई आकांक्षाओं की उड़ान भरने के लिए प्रेरित करता है। पिछले वर्ष राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मैंने 2030 तक द्विपक्षीय
Excellencies, now I respectfully invite Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, to deliver his concluding remarks.
Your Excellency, my friend राष्ट्रपति पुतिन, भारत और रूस बिजनेस के सभी लीडर्स, देवी और सज्जनों, नमस्कार। इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम मैं समझता हूँ कि राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण इनिशिएटिव रहा कि इतना बड़ा डेलीगेशन लेकर के आज इस कार्यक्रम का हिस्सा बने हैं और आप सबका मैं हृदय से बहुत बहुत स्वागत करता हूँ और मेरा भी आप सबके बीच आना एक बहुत प्रसन्नता का अवसर है। इस फोरम से जुड़ने के लिए और अपने बहुमूल्य विचार साझा करने के लिए मैं मेरे मित्र राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। बिजनेस के लिए सिंप्लीफाइड प्रिडिक्टेबल मैकेनिज्म बनाए जा रहे हैं। भारत और यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन के बीच एफटीए पर चर्चा शुरू हो गई है और साथियों हम अलग अलग विषयों को लेकर के भी जैसा अभी पीयूष जी ने उल्लेख किया था और जैसा राष्ट्रपति जी ने जो संभावनाओं का वर्णन किया है उसे देखते हुए हम बहुत कम समय में बहुत बड़े लक्ष्य हासिल कर सकते हैं। बिजनेस हो या डिप्लोमेसी, किसी भी साझेदारी की नींव आपसी विश्वास है। भारत रूस संबंधों की सबसे बड़ी शक्ति यही विश्वास है। यह हमारे साझे प्रयासों को दिशा भी देता है और गति भी देता है। यही वह लॉन्च पैड है जो हमें नए सपनों नई आकांक्षाओं की उड़ान भरने के लिए प्रेरित करता है। पिछले वर्ष राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मैंने 2030 तक
द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $100 बिलियन का उस लक्ष्य को पार
The internet loves good wordplay. Swap some letters around, change the order a bit, and you have a perfect internet joke. So imagine their joy when the Indigo crisis happened. An airline called Indigo that refuses to go. It was bumper season for wordplay memers. You had Indy don't go, you had Indy won't go, and Indy no go. Just goes on to show that nothing is ever serious on the internet. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. In Syria, thousands celebrate ahead of the anniversary of Bashar al-Assad's ouster. In China, French President Emmanuel Macron plays a game of table tennis, and the last supermoon of the year lights up skies worldwide. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1952, heavy smog swept over the city of London. In some places, visibility was reduced to less than 5 meters. By the time the smog lifted, at least 4,000 people had died. Experts blame the smoke and soot from London's factories for the disaster. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.
Hello and welcome to the late night edition with me, Mahima. Lots lined up for you on this bulletin, but first up, the headlines. In a joint statement, Prime Minister Modi and President Putin reaffirmed the strengthening ties and deepening ties between India and Russia. And after the bilateral talks, Prime Minister Modi reiterates India's stance amid the Ukraine war, says India has and always will support the peaceful resolution. India and Russia